and the doctors kept saying, you'll never walk again, Will.
But amazingly, his condition improved, little by little.
It was almost like every week we'd get a new phone call saying, he sat up, he's, walking now, he's standing up.
What caused Will's unexpected recovery? According to his family, the answer is prayer. His doctors don't know what to make of it.
Conventional medical wisdom would have said that he would be totally paralyzed for life, and I certainly would call this a miracle.
Will is now walking on his own, and is going to college.
He's had a chance to have his life, to lose his life as he knows it, and to have it back again. And that's something that very few people get the chance to do in this life.
Many people claim they've sensed the presence of a loved one, even after they've died. The mountains of eastern Washington state. A family is on its way back from a ski trip.
Within 5 minutes of leaving the ski area, we hit some black ice.
We hit one railing and then skidded out of the door, then hit another, and then after a few times we went over the railing.
While we were airborne, it seemed like it took forever. I had enough time to be really, really afraid.
Their car flew over a guardrail and down 80 feet into the freezing waters of the Skykomish River.
I realized that the car was filling up with water very, very fast.
She was trapped, her legs and feet jammed into the engine compartment.
I finally was able to pull my feet out, and I laid down on the seat, and I put my feet up to the window and kicked. I kicked and kicked and kicked. I don't know how many times, but I know I had to kick a lot.
The window wouldn't break due to the immense pressure of the water against it. Patty knew she had one last kick left.
As I put my feet to the window, it seemed like I knew what to do, and I had this incredible feeling come through me that the best thing I can describe is, I call it liquefied love.
Finally, she broke the window.
I swam out of the car and came up gasping for air, holding onto the ski racks, and my 6-year-old son came bobbing to the surface, and I saw him floating down the river. So I grabbed him and somehow got the two of us up onto the roof of the car.
Patty was certain that her husband John was by the river, safe but perhaps injured.
I had this strong sense of him sitting up there on the rocks, and I knew he was okay, and I knew he was sitting there, and I was mad, thinking, John, why aren't you helping me get your kids out of this car?
Patty and her son still needed help.
The lights from the car made an eerie glow in the water, and I could see Patty above the car.
A man appeared out of nowhere and jumped in the water and swam out to the car, and he said, is anybody left in the car? And I was screaming, yes, my baby, because I knew my husband was okay.
Johnson dove under and tried to rescue Patty's younger son, Chris. At first, he couldn't find Chris in the icy blackness, but finally he emerged with the boy's lifeless body.
He rolled over his head out of the water, and water came out of his mouth. I knew he wasn't breathing at that point for sure.
I could see my little 4-year-old was dead.
Johnson performed CPR on Chris.
Dennis said, he's okay, he's breathing now.
He helped Patty and the boys climb up the steep slope. As the shock wore off, Patty started to sense severe pain. She had broken her back in 3 places and both ankles. Then, she became aware that John was not sitting by the river.
It turned out that my husband actually was still in the car. And I was so confused later on when I found that out, because I was so sure that he was up on those rocks watching the whole thing.
Paramedics got John out of the car and raced to the hospital, but there would be no reviving him. The medical examiner declared the cause of death drowning.
The state trooper that investigated this accident said, it is a miracle that the 3 of you are alive. You shouldn't be alive.
Months later, Patty saw photos of the crash site. She believes she now knows what happened during the accident.
I could see right above the steering wheel there was a round fracture in the windshield, and the insurance adjuster said somebody's head hit that windshield. And I said, oh my God, now I know exactly when he died. His spirit departed his body when I put my feet to the window to kick the window out.
Patty's back was broken. Her ankles were shattered. Yet she managed to kick out the car window, then climb up a steep ravine. Where did she get the strength?
Perhaps her husband died, and that some of the energy involved in his dying process aided Patty in kicking out the window.
Patty thinks her husband's spirit stayed with the family for a while longer. At John's funeral, her son made a surprising remark.
Chris pointed up to the flowers and he said, "Mom, look at those flowers. My daddy's in those flowers."
And later, while Chris was playing his synthesizer, Patty heard a hauntingly beautiful melody.
He said, "What song was that?" He said, "Oh, that's the music I heard in heaven."
The water started filling up in the car, and I started flying through this tunnel. It was a rainbow-colored tunnel. At the end of it, there were 2 gates. Went through a gate on the right, and then I saw these flowers.
Experts say Chris's account is similar to other children's.
Children have extremely simple near-death experiences. They're usually fragments of a powerful experience that they're groping to understand.
Dr. Morse believes the images that came to Patty and Chris support his concept of a parting vision.
Chris is seeing his father's face in the flowers was clearly a spiritual event.
Patty continued to sense that John was nearby.
There were several occasions where I was very aware of my husband's presence after he died, and I was very upset by those.
Patty is convinced her husband helped save his family, even after he died.
He knew that the only way that his family was going to make it was if he could be there and help us. And I was badly injured. I couldn't have gotten those boys out of that car without the final gift.
Next on Unexplained Mysteries, a farmer has vivid nightmares about a past life in the Holocaust.
I couldn't connect who these people were. It was another man and his wife and 2 children.
He subjects himself to regression hypnosis.
I was nervous. What is this going to do if it reveals things to me?
Experts claim to find proof in the details he recalls on the way to heaven.
And then he says, "I'm not hungry anymore." And this, to me, again, is a very authentic detail.
A man and his wife are amazed after meeting a famous psychic.
He told us stuff that nobody else knew. I believe strongly that I just held a conversation with my mom.
And we'll sum it all up for you in the UNX Report. Stay tuned for more Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries, dead and back again. Many people believe their bodies are inhabited by reincarnated souls. A farmer in Nova Scotia is suddenly racked by nightmares of the Holocaust.
Without a doubt, it was not me. It was another man and his wife and 2 children, an older gentleman and a dog. I couldn't connect who these people were.
We have many stories of people reincarnating from disasters. Many people are not aware that Hasidic Jews do believe in reincarnation.
In his dreams, Whittier saw an old clock that would prove to be significant.
It was black, tall, very quiet. No one would find us because it was so quiet. At the last part of the dream, I was told that this clock was now in Canada, and it could be found at a new antique shop that had opened on our Route 1, which is our main road.
As he was on the phone telling me about this, I felt shivers go up my spine. Here was a man who had dreamed of a clock from Europe in another life and found that clock in an antique store by following directions in the dream.
To find out the identity of the people in his dreams, Whittier sought out a hypnotist who specialized in regression therapy.
I speak direct to your subconscious mind, and I'll say, I want you to move back to that event.
In an exclusive session taped by our cameras, McAdoo hypnotized Whittier.
Your mind is relaxed and you are beginning to feel at peace. What is happening here today where you are? Worried and scared.
In his past life, Whittier claims he was a Jewish telegraph operator named Stefan Horowitz. His family was hiding in a root cellar.
How long do you stay here?
For more than 2 weeks.
We went on to when he was captured by the Germans, and his family was taken by truck and then by train to the camps. Then we moved to the last day of his life.
What I remember is being taken to a place outside of the camp and being taken and stood along a trench, and we had no idea what was in the trench until we actually were made to stand there. And when you looked down in the trench and saw the rest of the bodies, you knew what was going to happen. And then I remember being shot through the back and falling into the pit. It was an absolutely devastating feeling to know that you actually were being somebody else and you were being shot and you were actually dying.
During the regression, Whittier seemed to tense as if he had actually been shot.
I then realized that I actually didn't die from being shot, that I died from suffocation because of the bodies on top of me.
Move out of the body and tell me what it feels like as you lift out of the body.
Oh, there's so many people that are going up. Did you see this light? It's so bright. There's rays of blue light that are coming.
And then he says, I'm not hungry anymore. And this, to me, again, is a very authentic detail, because the immediate realization as he enters the gates of heaven is that he's no longer hungry and he's no longer cold. And if he were making up the story, that would not likely be the first thing you would say upon being in the gates of heaven.
Whittier says he saw a blue light, and that surprised him.
In this life, he had read in books, etc., that it should be a white light.